Welcome back, everyone. If you haven't, make sure you like and subscribe to stay up to date for all the latest videos. If you've ever dreamt of pursuing a career as an actor or performer, you're probably wondering what it takes, what it's like, how hard is it to break into the industry, and will you be able to support yourself? Do you even have the dedication for all of this? So this week I had the pleasure to talk to Vick Krishna, who is an actor and director based in New York City. Vick has appeared on network television shows such as Fox's Gotham and NBC's The Blacklist, and is also involved in the New York theater scene. Besides acting, Vick has written and directed short films that have been selected at various festivals across the world, including the prestigious Toronto International Film Festival. Vick shared with me his journey to become an actor and director, and his perspective and advice for others who are considering a career as a performer. We discuss what it's like being a South Asian in Hollywood right now and the differences between Hollywood and Bollywood film industries. I enjoyed hearing Vick's perspective of the industry and what it's like as an actor in New York right now. If you're interested in hearing from Vick, keep watching.
I was just gonna say, tell me a little bit about what you do in New York in terms of acting and directing.
Okay. Well, I am an actor in New York, and that entails a lot when you're first starting out, or even in your middle of your career, where you're like go out on auditions. You're pretty much open to a lot. Done theater, commercial, print, and like legit acting on television. So I mean, you do the auditions. You hope you get it. It's that hustle. As a director, I do primarily short films. And I did one music video, but primarily short films. That's been sort of my forte. And it's just working with local filmmakers, local writers, finding a script. I mean, I've written most of the stuff that I made, the stuff that I wrote, or with a co-writer, and just kind of do it on yourself, like form a community with like-minded people and make stuff together.
Yeah, I mean, like part of an actor's job is auditioning, and I'm sure you're used to going on auditions, and like I've gone on my fair auditions, and sometimes I meet people that want to be an actor or do something in the industry, but they don't like auditioning. And well, that's like 50% of your job. Like you're working, and you're going, you can't have one without the other.
Absolutely, and auditioning is almost like a different beast of its own, where it's like it has its own pressures and approach. Where like I know people who are great actors on set, but like tell them to audition, it's like they falter and fall apart, and vice versa. So it's like a different skill set you need to like build upon and nurture to grow in this industry.
Yeah, I mean, that's why there's so many classes. Like when I first moved to, Los Angeles, I realized how many classes there are that are like audition techniques for commercials and acting. Because as you say, like if you don't, you might be great on set, but if you completely flop in the room, you're never even gonna get to that point where you're on set.
Exactly. Yeah.
Make it through. And so I think and I've like done stuff where I've, other people have been like, well, this person had a really strong audition, but then like actually on set it wasn't the same. And so I know that's something that all performers and actors work on. There's like two different kind of crafts they have to hone.
Yeah, I'm almost in two different headspaces. Like when I go in the audition room, like I switch gears. Like yes, I'm applying the same techniques as I would act, but there's some things nuances you should be aware of, I guess, is my point.
So how did you first get into all of this, and like when and why did you decide to move to New York to pursue this?
Well, it was long back, Anita, when I was a young boy. But it did start when I was really young. I actually wanted just to be a director. Like acting was actually an afterthought and came later in my journey as an artist. I saw Jurassic Park and I had it on VHS, and I must have seen that movie like hundreds of times as a kid. And that film just like really stuck with me. Like it was like, whoa, dinosaurs, and it made you feel. And it's like, it was like, whoa, they're real. Like everything felt real when I was a kid, and like it just blew my mind away. I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to tell stories. I want to like make what I'm feeling. I want to make other people feel what I'm feeling.
Yeah.
In my work. So that was the turning point, Jurassic Park. And so I wanted to make films. I had that story where like my parents got me a camcorder, and I was just messing around with it and making little things. But when you're doing that initially you often find yourself acting as well, because I mean, you don't know anybody. It's like, okay, I guess I'm the actor. I'm gonna make it myself. So you put yourself in your own stuff. And I slowly started to love that side of the camera. I was like, whoa, this is cool too. Like I like being here. I like being on the face of this and like being an actor. And then high school drama and all that happened. And it was a constant juggling between the two, because I couldn't pick one. I wanted to do all of it. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to direct. I still can't pick. I still want to do directing, and I still want to act. So it's a constant juggle, but I think I feel comfortable now in both realms.
So like, you know, growing up, obviously being like your family's Indian from a South Asian family, was going into acting or directing off the table, or was it almost like, was it more encouraged as a hobby, or was that something that you were like, sure, go study that? Like, what was that like?
Oh, you love that word, hobby. That was it was never like fully endorsed or fully supported initially. I mean, now they're cool with it. They've seen like my body of work and like where I'm at. So now they nurture, they support it. But in the beginning, it's like, let's be more practical. Let's get yourself, I mean, the doctor engineer is always a standard and will never go away. And, but something more practical, something more education based, like get a degree and then get a career, you know, follow a path, a known path.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a common theme, like with other people, you know, especially people maybe from like other Indian or South Asian communities. Like, I feel like families are usually like, that's cool if you want to pursue something in the arts, like music or performance, but also have a fallback, right? Like, make sure you're setting something that if that doesn't work out, which is not, I mean, it is hard to make a living off of. So it's not like they're completely wrong with it, but it is definitely, I think it is kind of harder because you have another hurdle of, that's what you wanted to go to film school or acting school. That might not be something that families necessarily fully endorse for you to do. Like,
absolutely, yeah. I mean, I understand where they're coming from. It makes sense. I mean, it's logical. It's safe. It's common sense almost. Like, why would you take such a gamble on yourself when you know if you take this path, you're guaranteed a decent life? So it makes sense. When I don't like hold a grudge against them for thinking the way they did. But at the same time, like, I mean, as artists, and you know, like, we have this like driving fire inside of us that we just can't deny on any given day, and we just keep going. So, and that's what we must do. Like, despite whether you have the support or not, you must follow that voice.
Yeah. At what point in your life or career did you decide, like, okay, like, I'm going to make the move. I'm going to go to New York. Like, this is what I'm pursuing full time.
I feel like it happened in high school. I had this master plan, which is still in execution, Anita. I'm still executing this master plan. And that was like, I knew in high school, like around 11th and 12th grade, I was like, I want to be in this field, whether as a director, an actor, I got to be part of this world. Like, and it was like, all right, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to go to a typical 4-year college. And I don't want to waste time. But at the same time, my parents would not send me to like film school or acting school. So it's like, all right, I'm going to compromise with you guys. I'm going to say, send me to India and I will do 3 years there and get a degree, because the BSc programs in India are 3 years. So I looked at that. I was like, okay, great. I save a year of my life where I can get back on my track of pursuing acting and directing. So I said, send me to India for 3 years. I will go get that degree that you guys want me to get. And after that, I get to do what I want. And I can like not have that pressure of disappointment or like, oh, I didn't like live up to your expectations. So it's just like, that was the compromise. So after high school, I went to India for 3 years to get a BSc Bachelor in Computer Science. Mm-hmm. And after that, I came back, and then stage two of my master plan begins, which is like, all right, what's the scene at? Like, because I lived in Maryland, it's like, who's acting, who's directing, how do I get involved, who's casting? Like, and I started doing that. I started getting involved in my local film community and doing shorts there, acting in print gigs, commercials in the DC area. And then that was my training ground. And then after like 4 years, I felt comfortable. All right, I said, all right, now I'm ready for the big boy. New York City, here I come. And then 5 years ago, or coming up on 5 years, I moved to New York City. And then stage 3 of the master plan. Well, let's do the same thing. Let's show my work, meet casting directors, meet agents, get an agent, get a manager, then start auditioning. And then around end of year 1, I had a manager and agent, and I began auditioning. And then sort of here we are still.
Yeah. And so, okay, I'm curious also how it works in New York, because, you know, LA, I mean, it's similar, but there's these differences. And also maybe for people that are wanting to pursue a career in whether it's theater, dance, acting, and they want to move to New York or LA, how does one go about that if you're brand new, right? Like, is it better to have a body of work and then come to a big city like that because you're hoping to land representation because they're really going to get you in front of the right people, but also you need to make sure you're seen and have some experience. So like, what's your advice for people that maybe want to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think experience is always going to give you a little bit of an advantage. I mean, it's hours in also. It's like hours in front of a camera. How many hours do you have? It's going to show. You're going to be more comfortable. You're just going to get it. So it helps. Yeah, it helped me a lot just to have that body of work to like, work out any kinks and like find the craft. That's also a huge part. And you get that only through experience. Like you can read the books, you can, you need hours into any field. So that's going to help. And again, agents and managers are going to ask for samples. So if you're new to the market and you have no samples, it's going to be a harder sell for them to invest in you. Yeah. So, and it's okay where you did the work. I don't think they're going to hold that against you. Like it's okay if you did regional theater, you did a short film in, I don't know, Connecticut. It doesn't matter. As long as they can see your work and see like how do you look on screen. It's going to be an advantage over a complete green actor or a green in whatever field that you're pursuing.
I think that's also something that can intimidate people is like they land up in these places and they're like, okay, I have to spend all this money on getting like the best headshots, or I need to like, go out and spend all this money on getting reels. And like, as you said you do need that stuff, but like at the beginning, it's okay. Like even footage that I had that wasn't like I filmed it myself. Like I had someone that had a good camera and we filmed, whether you film a scene or I filmed an interview or something, like that is just still showing you on camera. It's showing you your camera presence, showing how you interact with people, how you work with people in a scene. Like that is still something. And that's like a great place to start, I think. Just because, not everyone's going to come with a lot of credits, like, and people might not have the means to necessarily pay for something expensive, but you can, I mean, now with everyone's smartphone, you could probably shoot something and edit it on your phone and it's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like, I mean, maybe 5 years ago was a different story, but definitely now, like everybody's phone is almost shooting at 4K. Like you can make it a complete short. I mean, there's actually film festivals that are just like iPhone films. There really is no excuse to not have any sort of material anymore. It's in your hands. Like you have everything.
Yeah. And like you said too, I think like, I mean, I don't know in your experience, like how important did you feel like it was to have sort of these credentials or like classes on your resume? It's like, okay, I studied here, I studied there. And how much of it do you think is just experience? Because there's only so much you can ever learn from a class. It's like everything I've learned sometimes goes out the window when there's all these lights pointed at you and you're like, because it's different. So how much do you think that resume, like, that they've studied and the credits they have?
Yeah, I mean, it gives confidence in both parties. I think when a casting director sees so-and-so training, or like you met this person, or it just gives them confidence on their end to hire you. And on your end, you're also like, look, I'm a trained actor. Like I still think like, yeah, I went to school for this. I know this. Like it gives me a sense of confidence knowing that I did take these classes. Not that like I'm just coasting on the fact that I wrote it, like I took these classes, but it will play in you, knowing that you have trained, and training is definitely important. I mean, I did have a phase in my career. I was like, acting, I can do that. That's easy. What's so hard about that? But when you start studying acting, you'll notice, you'll discover how deep this art form is. And if you keep digging deeper, I mean, it's never going to end, but you'll see the depth of what it takes to be a great actor.
Do you like, what would you say, or what do you think is like a really good starting point for someone that wants to pursue this seriously? And I know that that itself is like something you should really give thought to, like what the role is really going to be like. But like, if you were talking to maybe your younger self, like what advice would you give yourself?
I would say seek training, seek a mentor, definitely, in whatever capacity. I mean, it could just be an acting coach or an actual school. It doesn't have to be an actual like named school. It could be anywhere. It's just, a place where you can safely practice material and get feedback with an audience. Two would be just start acting. Really, like I said, no excuse. I used to do, I just for my own sake, perform monologues every Monday. That's like a popular hashtag with Actors Monologue Monday. And it's just taking any material that interested you and working through it and performing it. And I mean, you can film yourself, you don't have to film yourself, but the fact that that week you took this material, you worked on it, and you performed it as you, it's just, again, hours in. How much time are you putting into this craft? And that's, my coach always says, like actors are the most laziest, in terms like a musician will practice their instrument, almost a professional one will always practice almost daily. Does an actor do that? More times than not, probably not. But we can. I mean, there really is no excuse why we shouldn't. I mean, so we can take a monologue, we can read a Shakespeare play and perform a little excerpt for ourselves. It doesn't have to be for anybody, really. It's just for ourselves, for the sake of the craft. And that's what we should be doing. So I would tell myself, practice sooner or practice more often.
You feel like there's a lot of opportunities for actors, and maybe especially like for like the South Asian community in New York? Because I know New York's also a very, like, there's a lot of theater, and you have Broadway and you have all that, which you're not really going to get out in LA. But do you find that there's a lot of opportunities in New York for you as an actor?
Yeah, I would say yes. It's getting better. I think there's still a lot of room for improvement. I still think we get South Asians, we still get the South Asian role. Like if they have a designated South Asian role, that's the opportunity that you're going to be offered. Whereas I feel like other people might, it doesn't matter if they're South Asian or not, they're going to be offered the lead. And it's not based on what race or what background you have. But it is starting to improve where they're not, they're open to like any ethnicity playing a role. That said, I still come across a lot of auditions that require accents, like the unrealistic Indian accent. That's still very much ongoing and still prevalent, and something that, I mean, it's like, I don't want to do it, but it's almost like you kind of have to. Well, not have to, but like, we all got bills to pay. Like that whole discussion happens in your head, like, yeah, I don't want to do it, but I also want to, like, I need to get paid, which is very a matter of fact reality. I mean, we all have to live in.
Yeah, exactly. Like sometimes, like, it's like you got to take the role that's at hand. It might not be your dream role, but it's like that's what you're being offered, or that's what's available. So you're gonna have to go out for that. But like, what kind of roles would you like to see, like for South Asians, or even not? Like how would you like to see it change?
Yeah, we'd like to see it change. Kind of like when we make our own shorts, we always like, it wouldn't matter if the character wasn't Indian. Like it's not even a factor. They happen to be Indian, they happen to be South Asian, but it wasn't about that. Like it's not a factor in like the character arc or like the plot, like that he was South Asian. Like I think that's the ideal state I want to be at, where it's like, oh, I mean, he's Indian, but it wouldn't matter that he was Indian, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. Because I feel like even now, it's so much better than it was. Like there's so many awesome new opportunities. There's Indian, South Asian actors in the industry that are making great progress. There's awesome stuff happening. But like, as you say, sometimes still it's like, they're drawing attention to the fact that they're Indian, whether it's part of the plot or they have an accent, or maybe it's a stereotypical character, or like I think we would all like to get to the point where it's like you're just cast as this person. It like has nothing to do. There's no like, you know, there's not necessarily extra attention drawn to the fact that you're South Asian. Like
Yeah, exactly.
playing this doesn't matter. And I think hopefully slowly we're getting there, and it would be awesome to see, because I think there's so many talented people all over that are, you know, they're all equally just as great and should get a chance to play those roles.
Definitely, yeah. I think that's where we want to be, and where we have to keep paving the way. But it's happening slowly but surely.
Yeah, I think so. And do you find that like in New York, do you think that like maybe as a director or even as an actor, do you think that it's very competitive, like within the South Asian community?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. It's almost, I feel like I have an Asian actor friend in DC, and I always felt like the Asian community there like uplifted each other, and like they all support each other so well, and they operate as almost like one unit, like with one collective mission. And I don't know how we got this way or why. It's just like, or like parts of our culture, you know, like snuck through and is affecting us. But like there's a sense of competition amongst the South Asian artists, actors, actresses, directors. And it's like, well, yeah, you made that short film, but my short film's better. Or like, oh, I'm better at acting. Or like, yeah, I'm happy for you that you got the part, but not really. Like there's just this underlying boiling competition in us.
Yeah.
Which is hurtful for like the overall mission to climb up the industry as a whole, as a community.
I've seen that too, and I felt it in ways too, which is interesting. And I don't know if it's because maybe our community, like South Asians, are just competitive, but it's like, you know, as you say, sometimes there's other industries or communities where everyone's really encouraging and building each other up, and like a little bit of competition is good. Like there should be some healthy competition. But
yeah.
When it gets to a point where it's just like, maybe among actors, because since I'm not in the directing world, like I can definitely see it here, like among actors, like especially for South Asian roles, you kind of see the same people over and over again. Like it's not huge, so you're seeing the same people at these auditions, and while you're excited, sometimes there is a little bit of like, well, you know, I'm better than this girl, or she didn't get, you know, there's like all that stuff. And it's like almost more competitive than if it was just like a role open to anyone. Like, I don't know necessarily be like feeling those things or those issues if it was open to everyone, but when it's sort of like a role that they're looking for a specific look, and you know, it's like South Asian, that everyone gets like really competitive about it.
Right. And that's probably because why, like the environment we're in is, and the opportunities that come to us are so far in between. Yeah. Like we're all like fighting for that one role because there's only one role. Yeah. So if like TV shows and movies had more roles, there would be less then we can all, I guess we won't feel as threatened by each other. Yeah. And we're not fighting for one carrot, all these.
Like there'll be like, maybe like, I don't know if they're casting a show and it's like, you know, it's like maybe they're looking for 6 or 7 like an ensemble cast, and one of them is going to be Indian. It's like everyone, it's like, I don't know if we're at the point where there's going to be multiple Indians or multiple South Asians. Maybe they'll have one character. So it's like someone's vying for that one role. Like, oh my God, but this is like the role of a lifetime, you know, being a regular on this. And so you do get that competition, I think. And it's like, I agree with you. I think when there is more roles and when there is more opportunity popping up, there's a little bit less to be so picky and competitive about.
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Hollywood made us this way.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I think being a performer, first of all, full time, like deciding that this is what I'm going to do, how I'm going to pay my bills, is already a difficult decision. And there's so many things that like you face every day, and it's almost like you're consistently applying for jobs, whether you're submitting yourself, you are sending emails, you're sending follow-up calls, you're going to auditions. And sometimes I'll talk to friends who are like in between jobs or interviewing, and they're like, man, I hate looking for jobs and I hate interviewing. And I'm like, that's the life of an actor or a performer.
Yeah.
You're doing that every single day. And
That's
also
5 times a day.
there's so much rejection. Like, you're just turned down constantly. And like, you just have to get used to being like, not taking certain things personally. And I don't know, do you have any like tools that you use or any things that have worked for you so it doesn't all, you know, just come down on you?
Yeah, and I think you nailed it right on the head. It was just don't take it personally. I think there's so many factors that goes into getting the part, apart from your talent, and they're most likely factors you have no control over, and that's what you got to keep in mind. Like it's not your fault. It's something. It all has to fit together for you to get the part. And if one thing didn't go right, not on your fault, on your end, but on production side or whatever, it's okay. There's other opportunities that you're going to be a better fit for, and you'll know when you're like, this is the one I was made for, and you just got to keep waiting and keep keeping your eye on the ball.
Yeah, I think like that at the beginning when I first started auditioning, whether it was for commercials or for like a hosting thing, like I remember that I would get so wrapped up in each thing and like be thinking about it before and after and checking my email, refreshing. And then over time, over the years, I just kind of forgot. Like, I don't even remember what I auditioned for. Like, you get something, you know, do your best at it, go in with all your knowledge, do the best. And then I just forget about it because I've had situations. I remember one job in particular, it was like, you were going to get to be a host of like a show. And there was like several episodes that this host was going to get to be a part of. And I remember like I got a call back and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is going really well. And then I didn't end up getting it. And later I found out they just went with the male. Like they weren't sure if they wanted to make it female. And I was really bummed, but also was like, okay, like I can't control that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, you know, you actually would have gotten it, but the way you asked that question was just so terrible. It was just like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like they wanted something else. Sometimes it's as simple as that, or there's all these reasons. And I learned like you just kind of have to. It doesn't matter why.
Yeah, brush it off. It could be height, stuff you had no control over. So,
yeah.
And it's gonna, if you like let it affect you too harshly, then it's gonna affect your future auditions. So it's best to, just brush it off and just keep your head in the game.
Exactly. And I think like over time, you also learn from your own mistakes. I'm sure we've all given auditions or interviews and you realized maybe I shouldn't have done that, or you weren't sure, or even sometimes you get like critiques or feedback that are really helpful and you learn, like you're going to change and, you didn't all start off perfect knowing everything. Like, that's why you go on hundreds of auditions and tons of interviews, and then finally you land the job, right? Is because
right.
It's a learning process.
Yeah, definitely. It's a process, and it's a never-ending process. Actually, I mean, you're always going to continue to grow and improve, and you're going to master your skill, and you'll get more comfortable and more. It won't second nature. It's just going to become second nature, and you're going to be so blissful as an artist when that happens, or when you reach that stage.
Because you mentioned that you spent some time in India, was there ever a part of you that was interested in the Indian film industry? Because I know it's very different, but you were in India. Did you have any like interest in that at all?
Yeah, I did. I was a big Bollywood fan. Amir Khan was my favorite, and then Shah Rukh Khan, and then Amitabh Bachchan. and I'm South Indian, so Rajinikanth was a big influence. I knew him like when I was like a little kid. He was my guy. Rajinikanth, and a lot of I was a fanatic for them. I wanted to, but I grew up on primarily like Western cinema, so I could tell the difference. Like I was like, okay, this is definitely two different styles of acting and filmmaking. I mean, now we're seeing in the past 5-10 years, like it's starting to be more grounded, be more realistic in Indian cinema. But I think growing up, I've seen always like the big fanfare and like the songs and the the fight sequences. I mean,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
always extreme and like ridiculous, but it's fun. So I wanted to, but not. I always knew I wanted to come back and like be in Hollywood. So I didn't really pursue Bollywood or Collywood. But I loved it. I do appreciate that style of cinema and what they're putting out. There's some great stories over there.
Yeah, it's very different. Like I was talking to one of my friends once, and I was showing a group of my friends. I was trying to show them like a part from a Bollywood movie, but I had to like explain beforehand, like, listen, like, because a lot of it is like very over the top, and like they like drama. It's dramatic. There's
Yeah.
big fight scenes, there's dance scenes, and like some of it isn't necessarily, it's not all very realistic. And I was trying to explain that to them, and they were like, oh, well, is there kind of just more toned down movies, like really normal? And I was like, yeah, there are, but like the ones that really kind of get this crazy fanfare and do really well are more of the commercial type of movies. And I think like, you know, people in India, like they're living their lives. Sometimes like life is difficult, and it's nice to go to the theater and check out and just be entertained by colorful clothes and music and pretty people and fight scenes like that. Like at the end of the day, like even sometimes I want to zone out and watch something. I'm like, I just want to put on something that is entertaining, and I don't care if there's not a storyline. You know, it's not, you're not looking for like art, you know, something, you want that, but sometimes you just want to be entertained. And I think Bollywood has definitely dominated that aspect where they're entertaining you. And it's very big, and it's very bold, and it's full of life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've had conversations with people like, oh, it's just like over the top, and it's like it doesn't make sense, and it's just ridiculous. But then I'm like, you have to understand the audience and why they're going to the cinema, to the movie theater, and like don't forget, like as an artist, like you also have an obligation to entertain. I mean, I take that into account. It's like if you're just there to preach a certain message, you're not going to get people to listen. But like, there's nothing wrong with just like turning it all off and just sitting back and enjoying the ride. I mean, we do it too. I mean, like look at like the Avengers. Like, I mean, we're not looking for or like all these superhero movies. Like it's just fun. Like it doesn't have to be so deep and profound always. I think. And I think that's some advice to like new directors also. Like, don't be too pretentious in terms of like having such a strict message or like how you want to approach this material. Like, entertain people. That's also an important thing to keep in mind as an artist.
And I don't follow the industry nearly as much as I used to, but I think like the roles even for women and just in actors in general in India are changing. There's a lot of what am I trying to say? It's like there's a lot of more like TV shows coming up that aren't just like the soap operas, you know, kind of like the stuff that maybe like housewives would watch. There's like cool short films being made, web series, and that was kind of starting when I was there, but like the web series thing has really picked up in the last couple of years. So there is more content that, you know, people our age would be more excited to audition for. So that's really cool that that's coming too. It's all changing.
Yeah, that's great. I think it's more accessible. Making films, making these projects are becoming more accessible for everybody. So it's in our hands. People who want to make change can make the change ourselves. We don't need to wait for change. So I think that's the takeaway. So
for sure. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I think we had a really good conversation. We covered a lot of stuff. Is there
it was my pleasure.
Or like that you feel like you want to say?
I would just say start making your own stuff. I think, like I said, and we both like advocate, it's in your hands. Keep making stuff, direct, write your own stuff, act in your own stuff, perform. Just keep doing what you love. That's what I want to leave people with.
I hope you guys enjoyed our conversation. If you're interested in keeping up with Vic, I've linked his social media below. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.